Right now, we have live Kathy Barts and Brian Easterwood. How you guys doing tonight?
Doing great. How you doing?
Doing awesome. Sorry,
That's me, Brian.
Let me make sure Des can hear you okay. Des, let me know if you can hear them okay.
Check 1, 2.
1, 2, 1, 2.
3, 4.
All right, she's giving me the okay here. Des is typing very slow tonight. I like to harass her. If you just say something for me. Hey, how's the weather up there, Kathy? I know we were talking before. It's pretty cold still, isn't it?
Yeah, it's terrible. I'm about ready to give Old Man Winter an eviction notice.
Yeah, but you're probably staying warm in your Super Bowl champion sweatshirt or something.
You bet.
We might have to lose you on the call here, me and Brian, since we're Falcon fans.
Well, I had to lay the Falcons down after that embarrassment.
I know. This twice now.
I had to jump on the Steelers train.
Yeah, I have to admit, I was on the Steeler train too, so.
Sorry, boys, that train derailed.
Yes, it seemed like all our train derailed this football season, so.
Yeah.
All right, I got the okay. Everyone can hear you. Hear you okay, I hear, on the radio. So we are good. My first question for you guys to get it started is, I'll ask Kathy first. Why did you decide to get into the paranormal field?
Actually, it was pretty much decided for me. I had never experienced anything in my life before that I could really count as paranormal until moving into a house that I moved out of just almost 2 years ago now. Lived there for approximately 8 years, and I had never in my entire life ever witnessed a ghost, saw a ghost, ever even really thought of it aside from, watching In Search of, when they would always do their mysteries. It was Bigfoot or whatever they were showcasing for the week. I really never thought about the paranormal or anything like that. But it just kind of escalated so bad from even the start of moving in that I can't say I had as bad a haunting as Tim Yancey or Stephen LaChance or, some of the other violent, more radical hauntings, but definitely some bizarre events taking place that just led me on the search for answers. In July of 2007, I decided to start the show as a way of trying to get closer to the answers and help find some explanation for what I was dealing with.
Do you feel you've gotten closer to the answers at all?
No, but I've met some pretty cool people along the way, and I've learned quite a bit. Everybody, as you know, has their own, and I'm going to say it, I get razzed on my show for the way I say this word, but I have my own opinion on it. Must be a Wisconsin thing. I, enhance that. Oh, yes, thank you, Anne-Marie. I see you in the chat room. Everybody has their own opinion, so you can take something away from every guest that you've ever had on your own show, which is like the main thing for me. I learned something from everyone that's on my show, whether it be the most minuscule thing to the most incredible theory. There's just so much offered up, and it's such a give and take that, people come on the show and they share their knowledge and their information and their events and their investigation information and EVPs and everything under the sun. So, it's been an incredible ride. We're going on 4 years, and for most in the field, that's kind of unheard of. There are just a few shows that I know of that have been around as long as PCR has, and I guess I feel really blessed. It's been an incredible ride so far, and I don't see it coming to a stop anytime soon.
I'm the same way. That's why I have so many different guests. I always say you don't have to be someone from the Sci-Fi Channel or A&E or Discovery Channel. I want to hear everyone's opinion and theories and ideas because we're all still learning. I don't think some people don't like it, but I don't really think there's experts in our field because it changes so much year to year. I feel there's people that are veterans in the field have been doing it for so long, but I don't know how you can be an expert in the field when it changes year to year, different theories and equipment, Well,
I kind of do believe there are a few experts worthy of that title. You look at, and I'm gonna. Tim Yancey said it best in a note that he wrote, and I suggest you go look through his notes and read who he considers to be an expert in the field. Not that Tim Yancey is the end-all say-all of the paranormal, but he did put out there very valid points, and I won't even attempt to quote it here, but there are people out there that have earned, I think, the closest to being an expert as possible in this field. And that's, again, my opinion, and, I do happen to agree with him. But I think your word veterans is a very, very good choice, to describe those who've been around longer and have experienced more and studied more in depth and really taken it to the, from one end to the other of the spectrum of the paranormal and tried to envelop everything that they, have learned into what they do now. So I think it just makes them, that much more prone to be leaning towards the expert side of things.
Yeah, and I when I say veteran, there are people that I look up to for answers. If I can't answer something, I consult with them and say, hey, do you have an idea of what this might be? So that's why I look at people as like veterans that might have more knowledge than me of certain things in the paranormal field,
Right.
Brian, why don't you let us, why did you get into the paranormal field?
Well, I actually got interested in it when I was very young. I saw my first full-bodied apparition when I was like 5 years old. It was there plain as day. It turned around, went up a flight of steps, but I didn't have any idea what it was at all. And years later, we were watching In Search Of on TV, and they had the actual ghosts on there. I thought ghosts were the sheet things from Scooby-Doo when I was a kid, so I didn't really know what I had seen at the moment. Right when I seen that, I knew that that's what I actually saw. And that's, ever since then, I've just been very interested in it, and I've read every ghost story that ever came out, and, years went by, and I stayed interested in it, but I had a pretty bad experience when I was like 26 years old. I'm 37 now, so it was a while back, and it's one of those things where it happened in the middle of the night. It was about 3 o'clock in the morning. Crap hit the fan, and I went outside and stayed outside till from 3 o'clock in the morning, freezing cold, with barefooted, jeans and a t-shirt on, till it got daylight outside. And ever since then, I was just like, that's what really got me pushed to getting into the field.
Looking for answers now, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's what pretty much we're all just looking for answers, and I think that's awesome when people can work together. That's why I try networking as much as possible, because I know some people in the field, they just want to keep to themselves, and they don't want to share evidence and that, because it's my building, I investigate, my evidence. But then how are you supposed to broaden your horizon and maybe learn something new,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's when you're keeping your evidence from other people and not out there sharing theories and stuff like that, then you're really missing out on what it's supposed to be all about. And a lot of people get down on the newbies in the field and all that, and I don't think a lot of people should do that. I think they should actually try to get them on the right track and looking for the right stuff instead of going in and saying every little thing's every house or location you go into is haunted. Then you should be going in there and teaching them how to debunk stuff and look for things like that instead of
bashing them,
thinking every single thing that they pick up on camera is basically a spirit or something.
Yeah, I was talking with some friends about that. I don't understand why. I mean, you see it on Facebook a lot. Someone will post a picture. I mean, people send me stuff through the email. You guys get emails too from viewers and that saying, hey, is this evidence? If I get something and I know it's, dust or something, I just politely say, you know what, I've gotten pictures like this, and my opinion is, and some of my colleagues, that it is just dust particles or something, But sometimes you see on Facebook, people calling other people, what are you, an idiot? This isn't this. And, we all got to start somewhere. People that haven't been investigating they just started investigating. They're going to make mistakes. And like you were saying, I don't know why people got to, instead of trying to help them progress, they kind of try and keep them down almost.
Well, sometimes those same people that are posting those pictures don't want to hear anything other than what they believe. And they're very hard-headed about it. So if you take your opinion and you post it as politely as you can on that, what they're presenting to you as evidence and to all of Facebook, they don't, they have it so set in their minds that that's what it is. It's paranormal. There's no other explanation. And here it's just light and shadow in a bush in somebody's front yard, and they're making faces or seeing faces in it. And they just can't grasp the concept that your brain is set up to find faces, and it's just, it's matrixing it at its finest. And they just don't want to understand the concepts involved from every angle. They see what they see, and that's all they want to see.
Yep, I was just going to say, that's the flip side of it. When you try and be polite, you get, like you said, you get people like that. I was on a different team last year, and I was saying earlier on my show, I like to keep a handy cam in with your groups when you're doing EVP session, so you can video as they're doing EVP session, kind of see where everybody is. And man, more times they'd email me saying they got 30 EVPs. And I'm like, really? And I'd start listening to them, and then I would tag them through my video, go over them. And I'd be like, no, I can see so-and-so's talking there, but she's got her back to you, and you got your back to her. That's why it sounds so hollow. No, it's an EVP. I'm like, I'm telling you, I can see her lips. I can hear her saying it with my camera and read her lips. And they're like you said, people get hard-headed. It's like, no, this is definitely evidence. And you try and be as polite as possible. I guess it's just, I'm trying to wish for like a dreamland where everyone's using common courtesy.
Where everybody gets along.
Yeah. Paranormal unity.
Oh, I hear Kumbaya coming on in the background there.
I would start singing it, but my wife hates that song. So
I think the worst argument I've got into over evidence, though, I actually posted a picture of an orb, and I called it an orb, and it's, I said it was dust right off the bat, and we had some blow-ups, and there were people actually getting mad at me for calling my own picture dust. And that's how, defensive some people get over any kind of evidence that anybody gets. And
that was so funny, Brian. It was your evidence. It was your picture. You flat out call it dust, and these people are going off their nut trying to prove to you that it's something other than dust, and it was crazy.
Absolutely, and I lost friends over that. It was like, it's, I'm sorry, it is what it is, but, I have no control over it, and, it's my evidence, and I'm calling it what it is, and that's, you put it out there for talking points. A lot of people don't want to post stuff like that, and you need to put it out there for talking points so people who are just now getting into the field, which, if somebody's fresh in the field, there could be somebody out there with a keen eye or keen ear that can pick up the, EVPs or catch some good picture evidence or something like that, and it's not fair to tell them, well, there's too many people in the field right now, we're going to put our foot on you because we've been in the field for 2, 3, 4, 5, 15 years or whatever, and it's people work together not just to try to find out answers, but try to get the people who've just started off in the field going the right way.
Yeah, I don't understand why people wouldn't want to try and help these people that are new. So then, because I think of it as, if someone asks for my advice, if I can answer a question, I'll help, I'll answer it. If I can't, I'll direct them to someone I know that can answer it. Because what happens if you don't help these people and they just go around doing the wrong thing, it gives everybody in the paranormal field a bad name. When you try and get into a location, they're like, oh no, we already had this other crazy team in here doing it this way. We're not letting nobody else in. So it kind of hurts the whole field then if you don't try and help these people. Because, people help me. I did screw-ups when I was first starting, and I don't know. I'm not afraid to ask questions for people. Some people have too much ego to where they won't ask a question because they're like, well, I know everything, so I don't need to ask. But, hey, before I get into more, I got a message. Rich and the gang from Paranormal Consulting Agency wanted to give you a shout-out.
Hi, Rich.
And,
hey, Rich.
And Des doing my board tonight, so she's in there. She's sending any questions to me. Which, remember, everyone, if you have any questions, don't be shy. Kathy and Brian told me they'd answer anything, so...
And the answer is no.
Oh.
Just kidding.
No, not yet, Kathy. I'll wait till the question.
No. Okay.
Or I'll be like, Catherine.
Oh, don't even go there.
Oh, click.
Oh.
It's like, we got silence.
Hi.
My next question, I know I was talking to Kathy about it. she's not affiliated with a team right now, but I know Brian is because I actually had Matt Lawson on my show last year, which was an awesome interview talking about the things you had going on in Georgia. So if you would like to let everyone know which team you're affiliated with and what you guys are up to.
I'm actually affiliated with the Atlanta team for paranormal research. When I decided to get on the team, I was lucky enough to come across Matt, and he's been great and has his stuff together. And he's a great team leader. I'd follow him through hell. And we've got some projects coming up in the next couple of months here. A lot of stuff we kind of got to keep a little hush-hush about them, but we got some good stuff working in here, and it's been great. It's been great being part of Matt's team, and I really appreciate him. He's a great leader.
Now, do you guys do residential and commercial, right?
Yeah, we'll go just about in any area that has activity in it. We take everything from a scientific standpoint. We go and try to debunk everything. They actually have a construction background, so I go in there, and if somebody says they're hearing creaking to the floor, I go and check the check the floor joists and see if they got like expansion and contraction of the wood, and it's like making it sound like somebody's walking across the floor. We go check the electrical systems and all kinds of stuff like that, and we go straight in. Like I said, from the scientific point of view, we don't use psychics or anything like that. I'm not down in psychics, but we just choose not to go that route.
Yeah, no, that same thing Matt was saying. And you know what? I never got to tell Matt, I had some people that were kind of PO'd about his opinion. And I said, why are you mad? I always say, like I said earlier, I don't think there's any wrong way to investigate. Everybody has their own ways of doing things. I think there's proper protocol you got to follow to keep you and your team safe and keep the contamination down during EVP sessions and things like that. But who says you can't use certain equipment or use a medium or not use a medium, And man, some people were like, well, I can't believe he would say that. Well, they were also mediums, so.
Yeah, of course they're going to be the first to attack on that. And it's, I have nothing against it. I kind of approach stuff from both angles there. But as far as our investigations go, we leave the mediums out of it. Because, I've met some very legit mediums, and I've met some very fake ones too, so.
Yeah, I
never know what you're getting into.
I'm glad I'm not psychic, because then I'd be a really small medium at large. I was going to go there before you did, Brian.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, had to beat me to the punch.
Had to beat you to the punch.
Lined up too.
This competition thing, I see how it is.
Oh, yeah.
Now, actually, Kathy, I know you're not affiliated with a team right now, but what is your opinion about using mediums?
Well, it really varies, I guess, depending on the medium themselves. If you can find one that has really proven themselves, and I've only met just a small handful of mediums that I would even, believe as far as actual ability, I have nothing against them personally, nothing against what they do, but I have limited experience with them, so I guess it's hard for me to make that determination. But I've met a few, talked with a few that really blew me away. So if that's any consolation to the mediums out there, I can see them as an asset, but I can see it from the scientific standpoint of, the proof. You need the proof, and being able to back that up is kind of hard. So I can see the upside and the downside.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I was very skeptic of mediums when I first got into the field. And like you said, I've worked with some that are very legit. I actually have a medium on my team. But the cool thing about Pam on the team is she don't just walk around and wave her hands around and say, oh, I feel all this energy. Oh, someone's talking to me. She carries her equipment. She does it from a scientific side, too. If she gets some feelings or like a name or something happening, I always tell her, call it out, because you never know if you catch an EVP at the same time answering what she's like. She got a name in her head, and then we get the name on the EVP that backs up what she's saying. You know what I mean? Instead of just being a story of her saying, "Oh, I got this feeling," but we have nothing to back it up. But yeah, I've had some legit, and I've had some where a medium was just wanted to be the center of attention of the room. So I don't name drop or anything, but the EVP session really wasn't EVP. It was just about, I feel like someone's gotten choked here. Well, I feel like someone's gotten shot. It's like, which one are we going to pick here, you know? It's like she was pulling for answers because we didn't give her any information of the location. So that kind of made me a little still skeptic, but you know what? Hey, everyone has their own opinion of different topics in that, you know?
Well, that's one thing that we have to remember in this field is everybody's got an opinion, and they're more than likely not afraid to share it with you. And if you're not open to hearing other people's opinions, then kindly walk away.
Yeah.
You're just making things harder.
Yeah, I mean, with you doing your show, you guys probably have people, you know, giving their opinions all the time. Well, why don't you do it this way? Hey, why don't you have this person on? And you know what? I'm always open when people send me emails asking me different things. I answer everybody.
We know Rich paid you to have us on.
I'll admit he paid me $1.
Oh, cheap and easy. Jeez, Brian.
Oh, that's... Which, actually, I know Rich is in the room. Rich had a good question for you, and when he was telling me it, my ADHD kind of clicked in. I didn't write it down. It was during the week. So, Rich, if you remember that question, ask them again, or ask it in the room and have Des relay it to me.
And Rich, the answer is no.
He told me to say that a lot. I didn't believe him. Okay, my next question, we'll start with Kathy again, because Brian was just telling us about the team he's affiliated with and what they had going on. So, can you tell us about any of your experiences you had? Because I know when I sent this over, you answered, yes, I can.
Yeah, actually, I can. I was there for most of them. Actually, all of them. But it really started off from being me just really seeing things that I couldn't understand. Like I had said, I had never been through anything like this before. Moving boxes in. I did most of the moving late at night when the kids were sleeping with the babysitter, and, you know, just kind of taking a load of boxes over when I could. And it tended to be later in the evening when it was already getting dark out. We moved in February, so I mean it was cold and things like that, and still snow on the ground. But I remember carrying the boxes in the front foyer and just getting a chill and just an uncomfortable, uneasy feeling next to this. Okay, the house was built in the late 1800s, so if you can picture the old style, one full house, kind of narrow height-wise, but the length was really long. If you can kind of picture the crown molding and, you know, all the elaborate woodwork and things like that, well, underneath the steps that went to the upstairs was a little door, and when I say little, it was shorter than me. So anybody who knows me can reference the short joke. But I'd always get really uncomfortable next to that door, walking past that door, and I just couldn't understand it. I just couldn't. It wasn't a feeling that I was comfortable with. And it went down to the basement, and it was really just yeah, thank God for first floor laundry, because I really didn't want to go down there. It's just a bad feeling, a bad vibe, and I really never considered myself as having any ability whatsoever, as far as psychic ability or anything like that. I mean, that just never entered my mind. Well, that just kind of increased to, okay, we're moved in, set up, everybody's in their own rooms and whatever, and I'd be sitting in my room doing the bills or whatever, you know, on the computer. Late nights was when I usually did most of my regular, you know, tending to the bills and things like that. When you've got 3 kids, you do it when they're in bed.
Yeah,
that
I
was
got
just
4.
my system. And I'd be sitting there in the front bedroom, and I could see the figure of a lady, and her hair was up. I mean, all I could see was a black figure, but I could make out that she was wearing an old style, early 1900s era dress, very full, from the hips to the floor, tight in the waist, and, you know, the bodice and everything else.
Hey, Brian, you still there? Hold on 1 second. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Alright. We lost Kathy for some reason.
Yeah. I think the whole call dropped.
The what?
I think the whole call dropped.
I don't know, for some reason it's not bringing her back. We'll try in a second here.
Yep. We're having a Houston, we've got a problem moment.
Yeah, this flipping, I hate to say it, Skype. Let me get her into the conference here. Everyone just stay tuned.
Did you lose me?
Yep.
Hey, I'm back.
All right. I was starting to get worried.
Where was I when you lost me?
You were just describing the woman in the old dress and that.
Oh, wow, you missed a lot. I just kept going. Guess I should look at my screen when I talk. But anyway, we ended up, having an ability to sit down and have supper together, kind of catch up real quickly. And my daughter was 3 at the time. My son is 5 years older than her, my oldest. My youngest son is a year younger. So she was 3, he was 2, and my oldest son was 8. So we're sitting there at the kitchen table eating spaghetti, and she, out of nowhere, says, "Lady up there." And she's pointing at the ceiling above the sink. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Because I didn't see anything up there. I looked at my husband, and he looked up, and we looked at each other like, okay, whatever. It didn't really go any farther until I asked her, well, where is she now? And she pointed over by the counter, and she said, sitting over there. And I'm like thinking, oh, this is just too bizarre. I hadn't told my husband what I'd been seeing out of fear of him thinking I was just some raving lunatic. So the hair kind of stood up on back of both of our necks, and we just kind of let it go. And then a few weeks later, we had friends over, and we had made the mistake of telling them some of the things. I mean, after that incident, we kind of talked about what I had been seeing and experiencing. And, he just kind of blew it off like, whatever. And we had friends over, and we made the mistake of telling them, and they were hesitant about being in the house, just going off of what I had told them. Well, to make matters worse, my daughter was sleeping, all the kids were sleeping, dead scream, piercing, out of the silence, piercing scream from her bedroom. We went flying in there thinking, something had fallen and landed on her, or, she was, I don't know, it was just scary. Went running in there, and she's screaming, "Mommy, lady hit me, Mommy, the lady hit me," over and over and over again, and there's a handprint on the side of her face. Well, it was so bizarre, and it unnerved me so badly that she was only 3. There's no way she could lie. I mean, what 3-year-old really knows how to lie?
Yeah, especially like that, slapping herself or something.
I went to the minister once she started telling me and getting upset with me when I'd go in her room. When your kids are quiet, you kind of panic, wondering what they're getting into?
Yes.
Well, here she'd be in her room, sitting on the floor. I'd go in there to see what she was doing, or to put laundry away or whatever. She'd get angry with me and tell me, "Mommy, you made the lady go away." And I'd ask her, "Well, where'd the lady go?" And she said, "Down this basement." Matter-of-factly, down this basement. And I asked her, 3-year-old lingo, basement's fun. And I'd ask her how she got down to the basement, and she said, it always pointed to the closet. So, I knew no human person could fit in there, because it was not a house that was big on closets. So we made use of all the space we had. So there was no actual person in the closet. That would just never happen. So I was really starting to feel out of my element, really uncomfortable, protective of my children. So I went to the minister of the church I was attending, and the minister's actually on my friends list. Unfortunately, I haven't spoken with him in a few years, but he came over to bless the house, and we went through, the whole house and everything, and we went to go down the stairs, And at the bottom of the basement steps through that little door, he just felt like he couldn't go any further. And like it was an electrical current is how he described it. So we ended up saying the prayer on the steps, and it never really went any farther into the basement than that. But he did talk to my daughter and by himself, and then came out to talk with us, and he told us point blank, the details she gave him, there was no way that a 3-year-old would have those details about the era dress, about the style of dress, about, what she looked like, how her hair was, things like that. A 3-year-old wouldn't have that kind of details unless she actually saw something.
Yeah, definitely, because how would they see it? Even if they've seen it, the 3-year-olds, because I have a 3-year-old right now, and I know what you're saying, because she wouldn't just come up with that out of the blue. And right. I know if there's a program on, my 3-year-old's not going to sit there and watch it. She'd rather watch her cartoons or something,
Right.
Now, the way you're talking, you're not in this house anymore, or are you still there?
No, I moved out. It'll be 2 years in March.
Now, do you have anything happening in the new house, or?
We have had a few things happen. Shortly after we moved in, the doorknob in the boys' bedroom, my son was laying in bed. He had a hat hanging on the doorknob. He did watch the hat and the door, the hat turn and the door open to the closet. But actually, the house that I'm living in now, I knew the people that built it and lived here for their entire lives. So, if anything, it's just probably residual. And they were great people while they were alive. So, I don't see any problems with what has happened here.
That's cool. The only reason I asked was I didn't know if maybe it wasn't the house you were in a couple years back. Maybe it was something that was following you. That's why I was asking.
I would hope that, but the whole period that I lived there, I had more strange things show up in photographs. I'd be even at the pumpkin farm with my kids, and strange things would show up in my pictures just unexplainably. We stopped at one local legend on a way home from, I can't even remember where we were coming from, and it's actually in a beautiful inner city setting, but it's wooded, and there's an urban legend that goes along with it. But I wanted to stop in there and take some pictures because it's a really pretty little park, very wooded and beautiful and everything else. And it was late fall, and I got out of the truck, and the minute my feet hit the ground, I felt instantly sick, just sick to my stomach. And everybody went off the other direction, and I'm like, I'm going to stay here. I just really didn't feel good, lightheaded and just not feeling great. And I looked off in the distance, and I noticed this black thing rolling. It looked like it was rolling down this incline off in the distance, and I thought, oh, well, that was weird. I thought maybe it was a raccoon or something. Till I got home and uploaded the pictures that I had taken in that direction. I didn't actually see this myself, standing at the top of the incline, but it had to have been right before I saw that rolling black motion down the little hill there. But there was a black figure standing at the top of the incline, and I had been snapping pictures, so that was, in the series of pictures, that was like the first or second one I took in that series before I saw that thing rolling down the hill. For a while there, it seemed to go everywhere with us. Everywhere that I went, that I, wanted to take pictures or whatever, it seemed that there was always something just not right.
Like almost like it just wanted to make sure you knew it was still around.
Exactly, don't let your guard down, I'm still here.
Yeah, almost like, trying to intimidate you almost, really.
Right.
Now, Brian...
I intended to pick on Savannah till she was... she did have a sighting herself of a 3-foot shadow person that darted past her after knocking her phone off a desk. She went out to pick her phone up. It was far enough away from the edge on the desk outside of her bedroom door that it shouldn't have fallen by itself. And she bent over to pick it up, and it darted, as she was standing up, it darted past her and just vanished into the wall. And unfortunately, her brothers didn't see it. They were in their bedroom. But my oldest son did have an experience with a round black mass that formed and went past him. As he screamed for me, it had gone through the outer wall out towards the front yard. And all I got to see was the picture swinging on the wall where it exited. So, there was many things that happened. When your teenager's afraid to take a shower by himself, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, that is.
Black mass had formed in front of the white door in the bathroom when he was in there, and it creeped him out beyond anything else that happened in that house. So
yeah, that sounds pretty intense, especially for teenagers. Because I know I said I have a 3-year-old right now. I also have a teenager. She's going to be 15, so I know how it is. Because usually teenagers are kind of like skeptic and tough and all that. For them not,
right.
Especially a boy not wanting to take a shower.
Exactly. Mom stand outside the door.
Yeah.
But then we did have one last, and this was the funniest happenstance of all. One Easter morning, my husband had gotten up first, and he came and woke me up. He said, "You got to come here." I'm like, "What? I'm still sleeping. Leave me alone, you know." Well, you got to come here. Why? What's the deal? If the kids aren't sick, leave me alone. I'm still sleeping. No, you have to come here. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I got out of bed and I went stumbling into the kitchen, still half asleep. What's the big deal? I opened my eyes and there's 2 chairs placed in the middle of the kitchen floor, pulled away from the table, kind of blocking the entrance to the living room because, like I said, the house was long and tall. So from my bedroom, you had to walk through the kitchen. Off the kitchen was the bathroom, into the living room, and then there was my daughter's bedroom off to the right, and the boy's bedroom was straight ahead. So that's coming from the back of the house. But for these chairs to have been put there by the kids, they would have had to have tripped over them to get back to their side, to go back to their bedrooms. So we kind of, by the time we put it all together, we figured because of the placement of the chairs, they were perfectly aligned. The fronts of the chairs were perfectly aligned. The backs of the chairs were perfectly aligned. And they were butted up against each other tight. Like 2 people had been sitting there. And for the kids to do that, they'd have had to climb over the chairs to get to their side. So we did kind of joke that one off, and we said, well, if we come back from Easter dinner and the chairs are stacked on the table, we're out of here. In reference to poltergeist. So,
that's funny.
But it wasn't really until later that my husband did confirm that he was seeing shadows as well. It wasn't just me. And December 11th, 2006, we had just finished decorating the Christmas tree, and we have a habit of taking pictures of our decorations for, the kids. It's kind of a tradition. I didn't need them in the picture. Was trying to capture the ambiance of the candles that were lit and everything else, the Christmas lights. And they were sitting what would have been opposite the Christmas tree on the love seat out of the picture. And I took a picture, and I didn't see anything strange there. There was an antique washboard leaning up against the wall next to the Christmas tree. And on the end of the couch, we had a bowed-out window in the living room, and the couch fit in there perfectly. There was only about an inch gap on each side from the end of the couch to the wall. It just slid right in there. So there was nothing that could get back around there, physically. So I had taken this picture, and I went to upload them, and lo and behold, there's this 3-foot-tall thing standing next to my Christmas tree. And I know it was 3 feet tall because it was half the height of my fake Christmas tree, which was 6 feet tall. So when I saw this thing and I looked at it, I was floored. I was just beyond floored. Instant tears. I'm not crazy. Okay? My son came in, my oldest. Mom, don't be afraid. If it wanted to hurt us, it would have. We were all right there. He didn't understand. I wasn't worried about that at that moment. I was worried about my sanity. Finally, I had proof.
Yeah.
I had tangible proof that I could hold on to and, believe that I wasn't losing my mind.
See, that's awesome when you get the proof, because you keep having all these personal experience. They're cool to, tell people about. But like I always say, all it is you telling a story to someone until you finally have that proof to back it up. Say, look, there's a shadow person standing next to my Christmas tree. It kind of helps, like you said, with your sanity.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, Brian, I want to ask you about your experience, but before, I wanted to ask you, you were talking about when you were 26, and you said the crap hit the fan and you went outside. What do you mean, like, what, if you don't mind telling us, what happened that made you have to get out of the house? Like,
well, it was just kind of, it was a whole weird thing. It had kind of the increments of an attachment case, but I never had any symptoms of it. The house was actually built in 1975. We were 2 years old when I moved in. Nobody else had ever lived there besides us. This whole area we live in is actually, there's a major Civil War battle there, and there's been 9,000 people killed in this area, and there's just been houses built everywhere. And the graveyards right where the battle happened, they chunked everything in. So there was like a community here, and most of it got burned down during the Civil War. But that's why I think a lot of the activities going on around here. But the main thing that happened to me was it was just a normal night, and I think it was like a Saturday night. We'd been out and just going around the bar and stuff. I happened to be the designated driver that night, so it was one of the few nights I wasn't drinking. And we came back home. I was at home alone. I actually lay down in the corner of a bed and drifted off to sleep, and I had the radio on in front of me. And I could see the silhouette of something kind of blocking out the radio when I woke up, but I didn't think nothing about it. I just lay there and looked at it. And for some reason, I went back to sleep, and the next thing I knew was I woke up and I was being pinned down to the bed. And the whole thing lasted probably about 30 seconds, and I couldn't get up. And by the time I got up and could get away from it, then I just ran out of the house. I was just like completely freaked out, but I was perfectly awake and sitting there, and there was actually something on top of me pinned down to the bed. And I'm 6'4" and I weigh 250 pounds, and it's just I'm not an easy person to pin down. So
I guess that would explain you saying the crap hit the fan. That is definitely the crap hitting the fan, being pinned down. I mean, even if you're not a big person, still just to feel that pressure of you where you can't move, that would be pretty freaked out too.
Yeah, and I thought I was dreaming at first, and then just like I snapped awake, and I know for a fact I was wide awake, and every time I tried to move, it would just like, I could, feel it almost like I had his hands around my wrist. I could almost felt like I was crushed by my wrist, and I didn't know the whole thing had happened, and I was so freaked out over it that I didn't even know what was happening until after I was up and out of the house. And it's that's basically what got me in the field, because I had to like face that fear, because after that had happened, and there was nothing else that happened prior to that or after that. There was something I needed, but I was like so shook up over that I couldn't be sitting around the house by myself and throw a plastic bottle in the trash can and hear it pop back into place, and I would almost hit the ceiling. And it was the fact that I was that scared of it, and I was like, this is either going to last forever, or I'm going to have to do something to actually face it head on.
Yeah, confront it. But yeah, I know what you mean, being started like that. I had an experience with a shadow person in my house that I'm living in right now. I just laid down in my bed, and I had my hands behind my head and started, just kind of dozing off. And when you have your eyes closed, we have a nightlight out in the living room. You can still kind of see the light through your eyelids. Well, I'm laying there, and it's still kind of bright. All of a sudden, it went real dark all of a sudden. I was like, what the heck? And I opened my eyes, and there was a full shadow guy over me. I thought someone broke into my house, really. I didn't think it was something paranormal. So my first instinct, because it was standing over me, I tried punching straight up to knock him out. I just about popped my shoulder out of the socket and fell out of the bed, because there was nothing there once I punched through it. And that freaked me out, because I honestly thought someone got in the house. That's how big it was. I thought it was a full, like a man in the house. And I've got, like Kathy was saying, I've got 4 kids, and that's always my biggest fear, someone get in my house and, get at my kids. So my main thought was to take it out, and it just disappeared.
Yeah, you take a swing at something like this, and it's the whole thing that people don't understand that has never had an experience or anything. When you don't have anywhere to turn when something like that goes on, because my whole experience there lasted, about 30 seconds, but it was probably the most terrifying thing I ever went through in my life, because, when you're immobilized like that and you don't know what it is, and it's like you go outside and you don't know, you're sitting outside like freezing. It was probably about 20 degrees outside. My feet were frozen. had
And
a
you're in
t-shirt
your
on.
tidy whities.
Yeah, had the tidy whities on, not much protection from the cold, and but you're sitting out there debating on whether to call the police or call one of your friends or family members. Of course, you tell all your family members, and everybody's like, well, you're crazy, and all that. So there's really nowhere to turn. So it's like, I wouldn't never want anybody else to have to go through anything like that and not have anywhere to turn to.
Yeah, that's really hard too, because when you were 26, you're about the same age as me, so that was like, what, the early 90s?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was no real ghost shows on, or it wasn't mainstream like it is nowadays. So if you went and told somebody, most people would probably ask you, like, what kind of drugs you on, man? Feel like you're being pinned down or something,
Yeah.
And that was the hardest thing too. When I have a lot of different guests on here, when they talk about things that happened 10 years or more back, you really have nowhere to turn to, because everyone thought you were crazy back then if you started talking about paranormal things, because everything you saw back then was Hollywood, pretty much,
Absolutely.
And they'd be like, what, head spinning or something?
Well, a lot of people are still closed off.
Yeah.
A lot of people are still closed off to letting teams in their house around here, and it's like,
Well, you're down in the Bible Belt, dude.
yeah, I'm down here in the Bible Belt, so it's, a lot of people are, you meet people from up north and doing a lot of networking through Facebook, and they come out and it seems like people from up north, up above the Bible Belt, have no problem talking about stuff like this, and they're
Oh
like,
my gosh,
I've
I've had 80-year-old ladies come up to me, while I'm wearing my PARACHALLENGED radio shirt. Are you into the paranormal? And then they start telling you their stories from 1920, and it's like, whoa! This is stuff that they've never had a chance. Well, I watched that Ghost Hunter show, and I just been dying to tell someone this story. And when you got an 80-year-old woman in front of you and she's telling you about something that happened in 1920, it's like really an incredible feeling. Because when I was going through this, TAPS wasn't out yet.
Yeah.
You couldn't just grab the phone book and look up ghost hunters. You couldn't, there was no ads in the paper.
You couldn't Google.
There was nowhere to turn.
Yeah, you couldn't Google back then either.
Exactly.
So
no Google or nothing, and it's, I think what was the first ghost hunting show to come out? That Most Haunted show where the psychics on there freaking out, and that chick's got Coke bottle eyes, and she's sitting there like screaming and all that. That show was so annoying that you couldn't even tune it in for 5 minutes without pulling your hair out.
Well, I have to admit, when it first came out, I thought, man, I just like the castles and stuff they were doing. But then when other shows started coming out, and they were actually debunking things and showing you, it wasn't just their faces and them running like a Blair Witch, screaming. And once you started seeing other shows that were actually showing you things or debunking things, I was kind of like, man, that show's really messed up. Which, I don't know, did you ever see the Saturday Night Live's spoof of that with the guy?
Yeah, that was hilarious.
Oh my God, did they not have all the characters to the T, like the guy from House playing Derek? And he farts. That was so awesome. I was actually, what's funny? We're talking about that. I was going to play the video tonight. I usually play some funny videos. I grab them off YouTube and that. And I played it a couple times. I just think it's funny because they were so over the top like that. When there wasn't no evidence, they would just keep analyzing it to try and make it look like they had something. But since we're talking about different media things, we actually had a question from the room here. It's more directed towards Kathy. Rich wants to know, what is Kathy's opinion on the paranormal field today?
Oh, Rich, you had to open that can of worms. Thanks. My attitude on the paranormal community right now, I don't know, you talking broadly or just the community, but you had touched on it earlier, Bob. The ego is
nice.
way. I'm trying, Brian. You know me.
Just no name dropping.
I'm FCC compliant. The ego thing is just way out of proportion. It really is. I don't care if you've got 45 minutes in this field. I don't care if you've got 24 hours, 5 years, 20 years, 50 years. I don't care what you have as far as time. You need to be willing to share your information, share your knowledge, share your theories. That's the only way this field is going to grow. Number two, if we don't find some level of cooperation here in the next few years, we don't stand a chance at anything. Because number one, nothing that has been brought forth, even my picture that I hold very dear to my heart of my Christmas tree fella, is not considered evidence to the scientific community, because Lord knows I could have made that picture myself. I didn't. I have witnesses, but that doesn't matter. We need to figure out a way that we can actually start getting this looked at by the scientific community a little bit harder. And if we don't, start working together and come to terms with getting over the ego and learning how to cooperate, share, learn, teach, and everything else, you might as well, you're wasting your time. You might as well just go build model airplanes. Not knocking anybody who does. But, that's basically how I look at it. And that's one reason we try to promote, like you do, Bob. We try to, the Parachallenge radio page is open for anyone to use for their advertising, for their events, for their, their investigations, whatever they like to post on there. It's totally user-friendly. Go ahead, post what you want, as long as it's respectful and, and just common courtesy is used. I've got no problem. But drop the egos, people. There's no reason to, throw Ginsu knives at each other's backs. There's really no reason to, make mountains out of molehills. And let's just learn to work together.
And be nice to people. If somebody comes, if it don't matter if you're on a show or if you're got a radio show or if you've been in the field for 30 years or nobody knows your name, if somebody comes up to you and asks you for help or your opinion, don't knock them. Don't say it's you need to find another hobby or anything. Help them out. Help them get on the right track. Tell them to go. Recommend some books for them to read. Recommend what kind of equipment they should start off with. If they're in a certain area and they seem like a credible person, recommend a team for them to get on. Or take them under your wing. If you got like a Friday night and you're not busy and they're in your area, take them out and show them show them the ropes.
If you can't help them, find somebody that can.
Yeah, that's what I said.
There's plenty of people like Rich's team and all the nominated paranormal teams of the week that we do feature on Parachallenge Radio. So if you know of any team that is worthy and upstanding and awesome and incredible to work with, is not, afraid to help other people, please send me an email at parachallengeradio@live.com and nominate them. Tell us why this team deserves to be, the paranormal team of the week on Parachallenge Radio. We'll give them a shout out and tell everybody what they're all about and why they're getting the award. So yeah, get those nominations in. They're coming in fast, and I don't know how long we're going to do this. So do it now.
Do it now until it runs out.
Exactly.
And you know what? I agree with both of you about the ego thing. You're never gonna. People that have egos, they're like got tunnel vision. They're not looking to grow in this paranormal field. It's just they want to do it their way, and everybody else's way is not right, which I don't understand. I didn't experience this until recently, more the paradrama we call it, and I just don't understand. I don't care who's on my show. I don't care what networks you're on. I mean, I just want to talk with everybody, which I think everyone's got something important to say.
Yeah, and that's you bring up a good point. Parachallenge Radio has never turned anyone away from being on the show, regardless of if they're on another network, or their stance, or who they're friends with, their acquaintances, or who they're associated with, or anything like that. And we never will, because your opinion, regardless of who you associate with, is still important to us. So, Bob, if you were to say, I want to be on your show, make time for me, does it be like, cool, when are you available? What Tuesday night you got open? We're not, I didn't build the show to become anyone. I built the show because I want answers. And if maybe you can shed some light on something that I still don't know, more power to you.
Yeah. And if not, it'll be a good time.
The whole attitude and the approach that I guess I've had from the get-go with the paranormal community.
Yeah, and that's a big reason why I asked you and Brian to be on the show, is because Rich from Paranormal Consulting Agency and Des and all them, I mean, they talk very highly of you. They what?
They paid you $1.
Yes, they paid me $1 to keep plugging them. But no, they really, honestly, they talk very highly of you guys and your show. I mean, Rich said, it's just similar to the way I do mine. Everything's, open for topic. Anybody comes on the show, which I think that's the way all the shows should be. I don't see why you have to be like, well, I only want to stay in my network, promote my own network. It's like, how do you even grow then in the paranormal field? You don't have no outside opinions. You got a lot of yes men. That's what it is.
Right.
And I hate to say, I've never been a
well, that's
yes
one
man.
good thing about Jackalope Radio, and I have to give them kudos here. And Todd Sheets, who produces my show, he's been doing Night Watch for many more years than I've been doing my show. So he's really the main reason and the one who gets the credit for really pushing me to get this rolling. And I really have to thank him. He's been a big part of my paranormal life. I've learned a lot from him. I still learn from him every day. Every time we do the show, he's on me about how many times I say So
I just talked about that on I was a guest on the Double D show on Paranormal TV Network, and I was talking about that. I hate when I look back through your archives.
Oh, I know. I can just slap myself every time I say it. But he's really an awesome guy. He deserves a lot of kudos. He's tried to pull the community together, and he's really a good guy. So if you've never listened to Night Watch Radio, it's on right after Parachallenged Radio on Jackalope radio.com. Check it out. You'll love it. He's a cool dude, and you'll just enjoy it. So much information. Really cool guests. Just another one that deserves, props. The ego never gets in the way. I've never encountered him with an ego, so I'm just really proud of being a member of Jackalope. I was one of the, as he calls it, flagship shows when the network kicked off, so I'm proud to be there, and I know how hard he works to keep things running, and he's just so dedicated, not just to my show, but to all the other great shows that are on the network.
So that's awesome to hear. Hey, Brian, how did you hook up with Parachallenged Radio?
Oh, well, I was in Home Depot one day, and Kathy called me. It's like, do you want to be on the radio? I'm like, sure, you need a guest. And she was like, no, I need a co-host. And I was like, well, I've never been on the radio before. Do I get a test run? She goes, nope, I'm throwing you right into the mix. So,
actually, I really didn't give him a choice. I really didn't give him a choice.
That's the best way, though, to go. No
it was
test
just
run.
a kind of twist of the arm, and just crack that whip, and there he was.
That's funny. Hey, we have a question from the chat room from Anne Marie. She wants to know if there was one famous person in the field that you could meet, who would it be?
Oh my! Brian, you go first.
I would have to say John Zaffis. He's the most interesting character that that's out there. If there's one person that was a expert in his field, I'd say it'd have to be him. So it's I have a lot of respect for him, and he's awesome. I'd like to meet him someday.
I can't narrow it down. I can't narrow it down to one person. There's just no way, because I've met too many fantastic people that whole field would have to be packed with every one of them, and we'd have to be having one heck of a party. Because I just can't. I can't just point one out. There's too many great people in the field, and for every one hateful, hurtful individual, there are 25 or more others that more than make up for that one individual.
Absolutely.
So, and that's the attitude that I try to have is, everybody, isn't going to see eye to eye for, all the time. But you got to remember that there's so many great people. I'm just in awe of every one of you.
I'm the same way. I like to meet everybody. I joke with people, you don't have to have a show of any type. If you got something interesting, not even interesting, you just want to talk about things, I'm open to talk to anybody. I don't know. I'm a person, I just like to try and learn as much stuff as possible. But, I don't know who if I was going to meet one person, I'd have to go with Brian with John Zaffis. Would be kind of cool. Because I had a couple of his team members on Tim and Dan last year, and they had some crazy story of tables flipping in the kitchen, and the radio, they were using a hack box, kept on telling them F off, and it said, is there anyone you want to leave in this room? And it said Zaffis. I'm like, of all names that come across a radio, the hack box, that's not a coincidence. I can see if it was Bob.
Yeah, Bob's a pretty common name.
Yeah, I mean, I have gotten that, but I mean, it's cool. My Desiree had her hack box on an investigation we were doing, and she asked, "Can you say Bob's name?" And like a second later, said Bob. I mean, it's cool. We got it. I've got it on. I think I got it on Facebook. I'm not sure. I mean, it's cool sounding, but there's so much of a coincidence it could have been because it's just Bob. Now Zaffis, I could see, or my last name Saintner. If that would have came out, you don't hear that much. But
right.
I can't believe it's 10:30 already. If you guys want to go a few more minutes, because I want to talk a little bit more about your show itself. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine.
You got a few more minutes?
Sure.
Since I'm paranormalwavelengths.com, my own thing, I can kind of do what I want. Sorry, I should throw that in there. But tell us more about your show. Like, one of the questions I had for you is, can you tell us any funny experiences that happened, kind of like glitches or something that happened during a show?
Oh, everything's funny. We really we do. I mean, I just told somebody in your chat room a little while ago when Brian was telling his story about running outside from, when that happened. He had this little encounter, and I brought up his tighty whities. Well, it's a running joke with us.
She claims I've got an underwear fetish or something like that.
You do. You totally do. Anyway, when you listen to our show, and even on Facebook, anybody who knows me from Facebook knows that I have a sense of humor that is out of control sometimes. And it gets away from me at certain points on the show. So you really have to have a sense of humor to listen to the show. Because, yeah, we're FCC compliant. We don't swear. If we do want to discuss issues that we know are going to get heated, we do have the option to go non-FCC compliant. We did do that one time, and I don't foresee that ever happening again.
Yeah, that was pretty much a train wreck right there.
Auntie Griffith and Uncle Tim are no longer welcome to the party. It was a holiday party, and it got carried away. But really, we do have a great time, not only with the guests, but we have a great interaction between Brian and I and Todd, and we're all a family. Steve does an awesome job. He's a PR animal. He runs the PARACHALLENGED Radio PR page on Facebook. He, other than making it snow every time I turn around, because he does these snow dances, we love him.
Take it, by the way.
Yeah, he is such a PR animal. If there's anything I need posted, he's on it, and he's on it, until everyone has seen it. So we have a great team. Dawn Shy does her monthly segment. She comes on, lets us know what's going on with the people that she represents. She's the parapublicist, as you know. So she's fabulous. She's part of the PCR family as well. And then we have Brian Watley. He's from, Brian.
He's from Mobile, Alabama, I think.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
Yeah. So yeah, he does a little news segment in our halfway mid-show break. We are a 2-hour show, and it's just a really great time. We really have a good time, and I am blessed to have all these people working with me. Brian, Todd, Steve, Don, just a fabulous group of people, and they're always there. Whatever we need, you guys are just always there. Stepping up and really doing what I need you to do, and just holding up your end of the bargain, and it's just awesome.
One big dysfunctional family.
Exactly, but we put the fun in dysfunctional.
I can honestly tell you, I can see or hear the chemistry between you two. I mean, you're just guest on my show, and you guys just play off each other so so well. That's what I think helps the show a lot too.
And I've never tried to be a professional because I'm not. And I'll be the first one to tell you that. So I think people get a kick out of hearing me trip over my words and just being me. I don't pretend to be something I'm not. I am just me.
You're just having fun.
People seem to like that I'm not trying to be something that I'm not. And that's the same with Brian. And, we are who we are, and that's all we can be. So, yeah, I can try to cut down the number of times I say, but 9 times out of 10, I'll go gangbusters into the opening part of the show, and I'll trip 15 times over my own tongue, and, what do you do?
Yeah, I should try to cut down the country accent some. Todd says he always feels like he's in Deliverance when I come on to the...
Well, you do channel Elvis a lot, and last week you sounded like George Bush.
George Bush, oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know what that was all about.
Really? I wouldn't say George Bush.
He just gets this more and more Southern as he talks. I don't know, it's weird.
Are you trying to say he wasn't sounding very smart? You're saying he sounded like George Bush?
No. He just sounded like him.
See how it is, Brian?
Oh, he's so abused. Poor Brian.
I know, man. I know.
He's so abused. Hey, do you guys have, what do you guys have coming up for your show this Tuesday for guests in that?
We have Steve Culls, the Squatch Detective. He does a radio show. He's going to be on for the full 2 hours. He just came back from Ireland in search of whatever he was searching for. We'll find out on Tuesday.
A leprechaun?
There I go again, see? Yeah. It should be a great show. He's really interesting, great guy. Nice to talk to, easy to talk to, informative, knowledgeable. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be a great show.
Well, I've got your banner up right now letting people know it's 7 p.m. Central Time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and
5 p.m. Pacific
Time.
Right.
So,
and you can listen and chat live at PARACHALLENGEDRadio.com. So,
and you also, if you missed the show, you have them archived, I noticed. I was looking through the archives.
Yeah, the archives are on jackaloperadio.com. Just click the archive button and voila. You got your choice of all the shows that have been done live and lots to listen to. And there's a lot of shows, even the Night Watch shows. If you missed an episode, you can grab them there. And all the other shows, you just won't believe it when you get there. There's so many.
Yeah, I saw them. There's a lot of archives, but I think that's awesome. I think it's the best thing. Like right now, I figured out with my new paranormalwavelengths.com here how to record it through the Ustream, because Tim Yancey got me hooked up on Ustream here. I was using Procaster Livestream over at the other networks, and he said, well, I won't say what he said, but he said Ustream is better. So, so far, I like Ustream a lot more, and I figured out how to get it to record right. So I like putting the archives, because I know a lot of people can't make the show on Sunday night. Just like on Tuesday nights, it's hard for me to make any shows, because I work with special need adults, and on Tuesday nights I'm usually out till like 9:30, almost 10 o'clock before I finish. So that's why it's cool to have the archives, because if you miss something, then you can watch it on your own time during the week. So that is awesome. But
you did ask about glitches and things like that. Really, yes. Basically our only glitch is Skype.
Yeah,
we're at the mercy of Skype at the moment. Last week we had Sid Schultz on the first half and Bob Honeycutt on the second half. And unfortunately, the first half didn't record, so Sid's interview isn't available on the archive, which really blows, because, he had a lot of good information coming out about his paranormal boot camp that's starting back up, and it's going to be in LA, and at the Linda Vista Hospital. So if you're out in the LA area, check with Sid Schultz and find out, when that's going to be, and find out all the juicy details on that event, because it's for a great cause. All proceeds will be going to the Linda Vista Hospital for renovations and things like that, to keep that open for investigators and things to go in. So unfortunately, we lost that interview. So if you missed Sid Schultz last week, I apologize. We'll have him back on again before the event, so he can make you all aware of what's going on again.
That stinks, doesn't it, when you lose something like that?
It's a bugger. But you know what happens? I'm here in Wisconsin. Brian's in Georgia, and Todd Sheets, my producer, is in Missouri. So you got to expect some difficulties between the three places, and it's going to happen.
I'll tell you what. I've been using this Vid Blaster free trial, which Tim Yancey sent me on to, and it has its own little record button. It records it right onto my computer, so if anything does happen, I have it backed up on my computer, because I lost so many different shows, or parts of them, like you were saying, and I used to be so upset, because you'd have, like, one of those shows where, like, the interview was just perfect. You had good information, and you wanted people to hear it, and then you get back, and you're like, crap, it's not there. So I have this little recorder now, so it backs me up.
Well, that's awesome.
Well, you know what? It's 10:40. I know people got real jobs and have to get up for work. Oh, actually, Brian, before I forget, you got a question from the chat room. Rich wants you to do your Alf impression.
No, that's Todd that does that.
Oh, Rich.
Todd does the elf impression.
See, Rich
unless you do one too, Brian. I don't think I've ever heard it. No, it's my producer Todd Sheets that does that. He does a killer elf impression.
If you can't do Elf, do an impression that you can do.
Oh, come on, let's hear Elf.
Come on.
Thank you very much.
You're getting a cold, I can hear it.
I didn't really, Yeah, I'm getting kind of the cold, so I can't really do it. And
I'm getting over it.
I have to let Elvis take over that one, Got to be in the right frame of mind to channel that one in.
You needed a test run, that's what it was.
Yeah, got to focus. Let the king in,
You had to channel him, that's what it was.
Yeah.
A little meditation and channeling.
There you go.
Well, I'm going to let you guys go because it's getting to be 11:15. I know you guys got for me and Brian, it's getting to 11:15. It's still early for Kathy.
9:45 for me.
Yeah. But I know everyone's got jobs and that. But I appreciate you guys coming on. Awesome interview. And just like we were talking before, it just runs smooth and just people talking. And thank you so much for sharing your opinions. What opinions, right, Kathy?
Opinions.
Sorry, I just have to harass you about that. And, just thank you for sharing your knowledge and experiences with everybody here.
Well, we look forward to welcoming you and all your listeners to join us on Tuesday night in the chat room. PARACHALLENGERadio.com. We'll be looking forward to seeing you all there.
Yeah, definitely.
Thanks for having us, Bob.
Oh, no.
Thanks for having us, Bob.
You know what? Thank you for being my guest. And I'll be bugging you guys on Facebook and everything. And I was talking, and Brian, I was talking with Matt. I said maybe I'll come up and bug you guys up in Georgia because you're near South Georgia, right? Right near the border.
We're at North Georgia. We're kind of 35 miles northwest of Atlanta.
Are you by Monroe?
No, Monroe's a bit further south than we are.
Oh, so you're even up. My parents live in Monroe. It takes me about 10 hours to get there, so you're even up higher than that.
Oh yeah, we're even higher. We're almost to Alabama on the west end.
Well, I told Matt maybe I'd get up that way and bug you guys sometime.
Yeah, come on by anytime.
All right.
Doors are always open.
Cool. And as I say every week on Parachallenge Radio at the very end of the show, have a good week and be good to each other.
Cool. Well, you guys have a good night, and I'll be in contact with you guys still on Facebook and everything. Thank you so much.
Bob. Thanks.
Thank you.
You have a good night.
Bye.